Hello students, welcome back to the new session of class 12 chapter number 6, that is molecular basis of inheritance. In the previous video we have seen about the construction of polynucleotide chain and we know what components are there inside the polynucleotide chains. Okay, today we try to understand about the salient features of the DNA. Now, if we want to remember something, we should have a clear idea or clear image in our mind. Over here, I have tried to draw the diagram of the DNA. So, if you keep in your mind this figure, it will be easy for you to understand the salient features of the DNA. Okay, so have a look on this figure and try to remember this. This DNA is made up of two polynucleotide chains which are present antiparallel to each other. The polarity of the two nucleotide chains are antiparallel. Okay, what does it mean? If the one chain is from 5' to 3' direction, the second chain will be 3' to 5' direction. So that will be the first feature of the DNA. Second one, in this polynucleotide chain, in this DNA, there will be a presence of sugar phosphate backbone. So here you can see this is a sugar phosphate, sugar phosphate, sugar phosphate. This is that sugar and phosphate, they make the backbone of this DNA molecule. What we know the backbone, what is backbone? They give structural support. The main structure is made up of the sugar and phosphate. Whereas this nitrogen bases are project inside, अंदर की तरफ वो project करते हैं. ठीक है, and as we know the sugar and phosphate, they are always present at the same distance, so that will having the fixed distance. The nitrogen base will be present at the fixed or same distance in the particular helix. Now if we talk about the structure, the twisting of the structure, this whole structure is coiled in a right-handed fashion. This right-handed fashion, it is coiled, so at the particular whole twist is called the pitch, and one single pitch. So over here, if you can see, this single strand has got twisted from here to here, and it has made, when two strands are there, they have made twisting and make this particular pitch. This length of this particular pitch is 3.4 nanometer. Okay, now if we want to calculate this nanometer into the meter, what we need to do is we simply need multiply this figure with 10 to the power 9. Okay, so it is the 10 to the power 9 part of the meter. Now again, furthermore, there is a presence of 10 nitrogen base pairs into the single pitch. So the distance between each nitrogenous base pair will be 0.34 nanometer. As we know, there are 10 number of the nitrogenous base pairs are present into each helix. So in each pitch. So there will be 3.4 divided by 10, that is 0.34 nanometer. Okay. Now if we talk about the bonding. So as we know, there will be a presence of phosphodiester bond and N-glycoside linkage that will be here inside the backbone, but there will be a presence of hydrogen bond between two nitrogenous group. Okay, so there will be a presence of two different nitrogenous group. There are purines and pyrimidines. Purines contains adenine and guanine, whereas pyrimidines contains cytosine, uracil and thymine. Here, instead, in case of the DNA, uracil will not be present, that will be present in RNA. So there will be a presence of four nitrogenous base pair A, T, G and C. So always adenine will always bind with the thymine and guanine will bind with the cytosine. As we know, if we have studied the structure of nitrogenous base pair, adenine and thymine will be having two free groups. So they will make two hydrogen bonds, whereas the guanine and cytosine, they will make three hydrogen bases. Vice versa is that thymine and adenine will make two hydrogen bonds, whereas cytosine and guanine will make three hydrogen bonds. So there will be a hydrogen bonds. They will give a strength to the particular DNA segment. Okay, this nucleotides they will be present in. They will give the particular strength to the strands. Now, if we can observe over here, the nitrogenous base pair are stacked one on each other. So there will be a stacking of the nitrogenous groups or nitrogenous base pair on each other. That will give additional strength to the particular segment. Okay, this polynucleotide to polynucleotide chains. Okay, hope you clear with this structure and salient feature of this DNA. Now, if we move further, we'll talk about the packaging of the DNA helix. Now, if you can say that you want to calculate the total length of the DNA. How will you calculate? Now, what we know is we know the distance between two base pairs. Now, what we need to know? If we know the total number of the base pair present into the genome, present into particular organism, then that will be easy to calculate the number or total length of the DNA. How? If we know the number of the nitrogenous base pair are present in particular organisms are, say for an example 200, then if you calculate that with 0.34, that will give a total length of the particular organisms. Here in your book, you need to remember only few organisms because those are the example given in your book. So what will be the total length of the DNA? Base pair, total number of the base pair present into the genome, and 0.34 nanometer, that is the distance between two base pair. Okay, so if we talk about the human genome, how can we calculate human genome? We know that haploid genome of the human being is 3.3 into 10 raised to the power 9 base pairs long. Okay, so as I said earlier also, it is a haploid genome. So what would be the diploid? Because we human beings have the diploid genome. They are the pair of the DNA present inside, this pair of the polynucleotide present. So what will be the diploid genome? That will be double than that. So 6.6 into 10 raised to the power 9. Now we have to calculate with 0.34 nanometer because that is the distance between two base pairs. So 0.34 nanometer, if we calculate, now nanometer is the quite smaller unit, so we need to convert into the meter. So how can we convert into the meter? This will be 0.34 into 10 raised to the power minus 9 meter. Now if we calculate this 10 raised to the power 9 and 10 raised to the power minus 9, that will be removed, and 6.6 into 10.34, that will be approximately 2.2 meter. Understand? So total human genome is total human genome is 2.2 meter long, whereas the E. coli genome is 1.36 millimeter long. Now imagine this genome, or we can say the DNA, is very large, about quite 100 times or more than that, longer than the length or the diameter of the whole cell. Now if we talk about the prokaryotic cells doesn't have a nucleus, so the genome which will be present into the cell here and there. Okay, it should be present, like we imagine the genome should be present in a scattered way because it doesn't have a nucleus, but it doesn't happen. Why? Why does it happen? Because it has got certain protein within them. Okay, which proteins are there? They are positively charged protein. Now as we know that DNA is a negatively charged, hence it is acidic in nature. Okay, so as the DNA is negatively charged and acidic nature, it will attract towards the positive charged molecules. So there are certain proteins present inside the cell, inside the prokaryotic cells, which are positively charged. Now if we say, suppose this is a protein molecule which is present into the eukaryotic cell. Now this is the DNA. Now what will happen? This DNA is a negatively charged and this is a positively charged. So this negatively charged protein will start getting wrapped on this. Now again new molecule will come and will also start wrapping. So these are the molecule of this protein, on them the DNA molecule will get wrapped up and they will be find some particular location inside the cell. They will not be scattered in whole cell. They will be present in particular region, particular site. Okay, so that region is termed as the nucleoid. Now hope you clear with this nuclear region. Why it is called the nucleoid region into prokaryotes? Because this is the region where the whole DNA is aggregated at particular location with the help of certain positively charged proteins. Okay, now we will move towards the eukaryotes. Now, as you know, again eukaryotic cells are smaller in size. Not only that, they have got the nucleus in them. So now it is a very difficult task for the eukaryotic cell to impregnate that nucleus with the DNA. Whatever the DNA content is there, it needs to be packed into the smaller size of the cell. Okay, so it needs certain mechanisms to pack those long strand of the DNA inside the tiny nucleus, because the nucleus size is very small than the whole cell, and the DNA size is quite larger than the whole diameter of the cell. So what will be happen in the particular cell or particular nucleus? There are some protein present, and those proteins are positively charged protein. Normally we say as a histone proteins. So there are some histone proteins, those are positively charged, as well as they are having they will be having a alkaline nature or basic nature. How does this protein, this positively charged protein forms? As we know, in the nature there are certain positive and negative charged protein present. Proteins are basically made up of what? Amino acids. Now amino acids are of different types. Okay, valine, serine, arginine, glutamine, there are different types of amino acids are present, and when they bind with each other and they form the protein, if in that protein the positively charged protein amino acids are present, then it is termed they will make positive protein, and if the negatively charged protein are more, then they will make the negatively charged protein. The protein total charge of that protein molecule will be negative in nature. Okay, so over here inside the cell, inside the nucleus, there will be a presence of positively charged protein. So lysine and arginine are the type of amino acid, they are having the positive charge. So the positively charged amino acids are more inside this particular protein. So basically they will make the positively charged protein. Understand? So if it is asked which type of amino acids are present inside the nucleus to form the histone molecule or to form the positively charged protein, those are the lysine and arginine. Okay, now when these histone proteins are present in some different shapes, basically these histone proteins they make a globular structure. Okay, histone molecules. Histone molecule, when they bind with each other, they will make an octamer. So basically octamer will having the 8 molecules of the histones. So here if you can see there in the front I have shown 4 octamers for molecules of proteins. This one 2 3 and 4, and 4 another molecules of the histones, they will be present at the back side. So basically they will make 8 subunit of the histone protein, and when the 8 subunits get together and form the structure, that is called the histone octamer. Now as we know, this histone is positively charged protein. Now this histone octamer is present and this DNA is a negatively charged. This negatively charged and acidic in nature DNA will get attracted towards the positively charged and basic octamer. They will get wrapped up on this histone octamer. Now there are certain other histone protein, they will bind at the end of these strands to not letting this DNA strand get open. So they will give some more strength to this segment. Now from here to here, whatever the segment is wrapped up with a combination of the DNA plus this histone octamer, that is termed as the nucleosomes. Okay, now this structure is called the nucleosome, and each nucleosome is made up of, each nucleosome contains approximately 200 base pairs in each. Okay, so 200 of base pairs. Now again new histone octamer will come somewhere over here, that will get wrapped up by this DNA, that will also have the 200. So whatever the number of the longer strength will get compressed by wrapping up the DNA onto the octamer. Okay, now this type of structure, when it is made inside the cell, they will start appearing if we stain it. If we stain the nucleus or if we stain the cell with particular dye, then what will happen? This histone protein will absorb a dye and will appear like a bead. So in this cell, this structure is termed as beads on the string structure. Okay, so now as the cell division gets started, and it will enter into the metaphase of the cell division cycle. As it enters into the metaphase cycle, now what it needs to do is it has to be more condensed. Whatever the DNA molecule is there, that has to be more tightly packed so that it will get compressed and it will get appear. Now there is a question over here, why this DNA get appear into the metaphase particularly? Why you can see clear image of the DNA in this phase? Because whatever the DNA content is there, that will be condensed and tightly packed. That is why it can appear easily. If something is tight packly, then it will be appear easily. If it is loosely packed, it will not get appear that easily. Okay, so what happened into the metaphase? The DNA will get tightly packed. Now to pack this DNA more condensed, there are certain other proteins which play important role at the time of the packing. Those proteins are called the non-histonic chromosomal proteins. Now non-histonic chromosomal proteins are also taking part at the stage of the metaphase to get condensed these substances or these DNA molecules. Now when this condensation process will take place, during this condensation process, I am showing you just one image. Suppose this type of new chromosomes we can see in the cell division stage. So this, and when can be happen? If the total length of the DNA that gets shortened in size, and how it gets shortened? By the condensation, by the wrapping process, or by the packing mechanism. So whatever we can see over here, the DNA at this location, that will be tightly packed. So whatever the non-histone and histone protein molecules are there in this region, there will be very high in number. So this region is tightly packed, whereas this region it is a loosely packed. So DNA which is present inside in this region, they will be a loosely packed. Now what will happen? What is the action of this DNA molecule? DNA are involved in the production of protein, basically by forming the mRNA. So for making the DNA to RNA, that is called the transcription. Now transcription, if this part is more densely packed, this densely packed region is called the heterochromatin. Okay, if this is tightly packed, then it will be very hard for the machineries which are involved into the transcription to find out this particular open strand to bind with. So this heterochromatin is known as term as transcriptionally inactive region of the chromosome, whereas the euchromatin is a transcriptionally active region. These euchromatin are loosely packed, whereas the heterochromatin are tightly packed. Now hope you clear with this both things. Now the another important thing, which is the central dogma process. Now there was a group of scientists, we know, the Watson and Crick. They have given the DNA double helix model. Among these two, Crick has given the central dogma technique. So remember the name, there were not two scientists over here, only one scientist said, only Crick. Crick has given the idea about the central dogma. It says that whatever the DNA material is there, that will follow a particular path. This DNA material will get converted, will form a multiple copies of the DNA itself. That is called the replication. So DNA is involved into the production of the replica, production of the same kind is called the replication. Now whatever the DNA is made, that will form mRNA through transcription, and through transcription whatever the mRNA is produced, that will convert it into the protein through translation. The process of replication, transcription and translation are the part of central dogma technique. Okay, so hope you are clear with these two topics. Now I will see you again into the next video of the particular chapter. Okay, thank you.